Hello and good evening, everyone. Here, this is Tone Vase with another episode of Tone's Market Analysis for Sunday, March 19th. As you can see, my blog has still not been updated with all the content I've done over the last month. I will get to it, I promise. I will just jump right into the show. These episodes have been taking up 2 to 3 hours, and I'm trying to avoid that, but there's just so much going on in the Bitcoin space, and I want to give people the opportunity to ask me live questions. This does stream live, and I will still talk about the traditional markets as quickly as I can. I know most people aren't interested in them, but I am trying to build an audience outside of Bitcoin. And in the near future, I will be separating traditional markets completely from the Bitcoin markets. But for now, let's just jump right into it. I will talk a lot about SegWit and Bitcoin Unlimited and Vinny Lingham and some of the other people that you all heard about very recently. Let's just do just a quick overview. This is actually lately, this has been the only time I look at the traditional markets by making these videos. So at least it somewhat keeps me fresh. If we're looking at the S&P 500, we had this big green candle 2 days ago that had to do completely with Janet Yellen and the Fed rate announcement. Things tend to go up on that day. I talked about it a lot last week. Or Wednesday. I'm not going to talk a lot about it today. As you can see, it was one day because markets almost always go up on the day of the rate decision. We are now back into bearish territory. If we get 2 more bearish days, we're probably going to have a bit of a pullback, and that pullback is badly needed. Weekly chart. Here we go. Taking a look at the weekly chart, again, there's really not much. It's we are a few weeks off of all-time highs. The MACD is very, very high. The RSI is very, very high. We can use a little bit of a pullback. I want to say back down to the 2330 area. That was a Fibonacci extension line. And if we do go back down there, it's not even that major of a pullback. Ideally, you want to see a pullback back to 2200. I don't know if that's going to happen, but this is an amazing start to the year. We'll see if that lasts. This is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bullish weeks in a row. That's amazing. I'm not sure if last week was or wasn't green or red. Hard to tell. And this past week was green again. So we're just due for a little bit of a pullback. I'm going to go ahead and close equities. Let's take a look at gold. I also talked about gold a lot on Wednesday. I didn't think gold would go up this much again, but this was a big fall from end of February. I thought that this big Fibonacci line and this 50-day moving average would stop gold. You can also see the formation of a head and shoulders. And as long as gold stays below 1250, I am not going to take gold seriously on the daily level. So that's the daily gold. The weekly gold looks significantly weaker than the daily gold. So on the daily chart, I'm not going to take gold seriously until we get above 1250. On the weekly chart, I'm not going to take gold seriously until we get above 1300. And to be real serious about gold, we would need to get above, looks like about 1400. So to me, gold is still very, very bearish. And one good week will not make a trend. We've been down a lot since end of February. So let's see where it goes. Gold did hit an oversold condition at the end of last year. So a little bit, but I mean, this trend line is going to be insanely difficult to break. All right, let's close gold. Let's take a quick look at oil. I'm still holding out for that inverse head and shoulders to materialize. Oil had one bad week. It came back to the 50-day moving average, but as you can see, while we're all getting bored, there is strength in momentum, and this will be able to rally it a little bit into the middle of the year, into the summer. The price of gasoline usually goes up during the summer. Oil tends to go up into the summer. Like you can see it right here. Here's a stretch from March. You know what? Let me change my pointer. Here's a stretch from March 23rd, around where we are now, into the summer, where it kind of got stuck, and oil was up big. And now if we go last year, here is March again, here at $35, and here's a big rally in oil of about 20 bucks. Just like in 2015, in 2014, you have this rally throughout April and May and into June. And here we are again. Oil is just put in a weekly doji at the 50-day moving average, and here we are sitting again in March. So the last 2 years, it has seriously gone up throughout April and May. If I go back one more year to 2014, again, if I take it back to mid-May, you're sitting right here at $99, and then oil went up to about 108 bucks into end of June. So so this time period right now for the last 3 years has been pretty bullish oil. So I have no reason to be bearish oil at the moment. The technicals are saying there could be some life in oil left. Let's close oil. All right. Quick word on the euro. I mean, we have to wait for the French elections. If the French elections have already happened, I totally missed it. Again, this is why I deserve to be fired from my job of being a traditional trader, because I haven't had time to pay attention, neither to the prices themselves, not to mention the geopolitical stuff and the economic stuff. My trading season will officially begin in about 3 to 4 weeks. And then I will be way more focused on trading, because that's my trading season. The euro can go up, but this declining 50-day moving average is no joke. 50-week moving average. Sorry, I'm on a weekly chart. Let's close the euro. Here's my euro versus pound trade. For the second week now, I'm saying right after the video, I'm going to go and actually make this trade. And of course, I forgot both times. And now this would have been a great trade. I would have been up in this trade. You can see that I intended to open this trade at 87.50, and this trade is once again in the green. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to make this trade at this point, because even if I make the trade, I'm not going to have time to pay attention to it. So I'm going to let this run and see how it goes. This is an amazing risk-reward ratio, and if it doesn't work out, it's very little risk. And if it works out like I think it will, that's a huge piece of chunk of reward, especially on a leveraged equity, especially on a leveraged FX trade. All right, so here we go with Bitcoin. I'm going to talk about the technicals first. I'm going to talk about the technicals first. Oh, someone asked a question that I see coming through right now. Do I take donations in Dash? I do not take donations in Dash, but if you feel like using Shapeshift, I mean, there's nothing stopping you, right? I mean, my Bitcoin addresses are public. I don't take, I mean, look, I can barely keep up with my Bitcoin addresses. Like, I barely have time to give you a new Bitcoin donation address every week. I just don't have time to create all these wallets. I'm not gonna hold any of these coins at the exchange, because I think that's stupid and risky. And I'm not gonna be running. I barely have enough memory to run a Bitcoin Core wallet. I'm not gonna run any of those other wallets. So no, I don't take donations in anything other than Bitcoin. I only support Bitcoin. I only want to support Bitcoin. I don't want your donation in altcoins. That's not what I do. So if you want to use your altcoins and convert them into Bitcoin and then send me the Bitcoin, great. It's only going to strengthen the Bitcoin community, because guess what? I'm not going to sell that Bitcoin anytime soon. So to answer that question. All right, so this is a time for live viewers to put their real questions in. Please start with a capital word question. We have 150 live viewers right now. I want to separate questions to me versus questions to each other in the chat, and also just random comments in the chat. So this way I know exactly what I'm looking for. Let me talk about the technicals real quick. Here is the weekly chart of Bitcoin. Again, this has been a very tough week for Bitcoin. This week is about to end. It looks like we are currently sitting at 1024 on Bitstamp. I thought we were a little bit higher on Bitfinex, but it looks like we're dropping. We were on Bitfinex at 1050 around the time I started this video, but we are starting to drop. So the weekly chart, it doesn't look that bad, guys. I mean, in all seriousness, I don't want us to fall back to 750 because that would be kind of dangerous. It creates this double bottom and starts to form this inverse head and shoulders. So you really don't want to see that. So as long as we stay above 915, everything looks good from a technical perspective, strictly technical. I'll leave that. Here's the daily chart. I tweeted this out earlier. I also published it on TradingView. I don't publish things on TradingView that often. So this channel hasn't moved. I've had this channel for a long time, probably going on a year and a half, if not more. I have learned to trust this channel, and until I see a definitive break outside of this channel, I'm going to trust the channel. It worked out really well during the Chinese crisis with the regulators, and we had this ETF disaster, and that came in within a few dollars of the bottom of the channel. And most recently, over the last 4 days, the price fell. It dipped just below the channel for a few hours, and now it's coming back up. We were at 1050 just a few minutes ago. We're now back down to 1030, and we're gonna see what happens. The RSI hit just at the 30 mark, probably a smidge above. I mean, the MACD isn't looking good, but it's okay. We'll see what happens. I think we really can turn around from here. What's going to cause it to turn around from here? Well, that's the million-dollar question, right? And many people are disagreeing on that. And finally, here is the hourly chart. Now, this is interesting, right? Those that watch my videos consistently would know that I drew in these two yellow trend lines around the time of the ETF mess, way before this top, or I'm sorry, not the top. I know exactly when I drew these. I drew these where I drew these arrows. So I must have drawn this around here, and I talked about the two scenarios for what will create the green arrow and what will create the red arrow. And as you can see, we fell, and I didn't mess with this. I mean, this just happened 2 days ago. I literally just opened this chart 20 minutes ago, and I was as surprised as anyone that we literally just touched my trend line that I almost randomly drew the other day. Those that watched the Friday video on the Bitcoin group would have watched me extend this line down to here, and this would have been on Friday night. So what was Friday? 17th. So here you go. Here's the 17th. So around this area, like over here, around back when it was still like in the 1100 range, I drew this, and we touched it and we bounced off of it. How accurate is this trend line? I have no idea. Okay. And finally, since I forgot to pull up this chart earlier, I do like my Brave New Coin Liquid Index chart. Unfortunately, it only updates at 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern time, so we will need one more update. But I also published this chart on TradingView weeks ago, if not a month, over a month ago now, probably. And let's see. Yeah, so we've definitely fallen significantly lower than I expected. I expected us to be hanging around 1100 at this time, but if we do close today and tomorrow and we get back to 1050, 1070, it's not the end of the world. So this isn't the end of the world yet. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. And if you look at my Twitter feed, I just changed my pinned tweet. My prior pinned tweet also talked about 915, and now I'm talking about 915 again. 915 has been my very strong support. As bad as things sound, I'm still optimistic, or as optimistic as I can be. So we'll see. There are several reasons why I'm optimistic. One of them is that I don't even know what to talk about next. I know I want to get to your questions, but all right. I guess let's talk about Vinny's article, right? So should I start from the top or should I start from the bottom? I'm not even sure where to start, okay? So the news by DeSantis that there is collusion between Jihan of Bitmain and Roger Ver and Eric Voorhees and John McAfee to build this new mining farm. Okay, you guys need to understand that John McAfee's crazy. Okay, he's just like verifiably nuts. Just because the man built a long time ago, by the way, he built antivirus software, and he managed to sell this antivirus software for a lot of money. Doesn't make him, doesn't give him any expertise in Bitcoin. He knows nothing. I have 164 live viewers, and I would say 150 of you know more about Bitcoin than John McAfee does. Okay? Don't sell yourself short. So this doesn't scare me. If anything, I'm kind of happy because John McAfee can only screw it all up, because that's kind of all he's done since selling the company for billions of dollars. Okay, so that doesn't scare me. It just doesn't. There are things that will scare me, and I don't want to scare you, but confidence in Bitcoin needs to remain. And core developers need to stay the course and continue to do their job. Bitfury needs to remain in competition with the Chinese miners. Bitfury is the only other real chip maker on the market besides Bitmain. If Bitmain is the only chip maker and they run the biggest mining pool, we have a huge problem. Bitcoin becomes considered centralized, and people like me will give up on Bitcoin. Now, altcoins are not going to solve our problem. Altcoins are worse. Whatever problems you think Bitcoin has, multiply them by 100, and that's your next favorite altcoin. Okay? The problems that altcoins are about to face are the problems Bitcoin solved back in 2011. Okay? So, I mean, altcoins are totally irrelevant, completely. They're all gonna, there's no good end to any of your altcoins. Either they're gonna get expensive to the point of having giant problems that implodes the altcoin, or Bitcoin will solve this particular problem of controversial scaling, and then all of that money will voluntarily leave your altcoin. So your altcoin will either be imploded like the DAO by someone who actually understands how that altcoin was programmed with all of its bugs, or voluntarily people will just dump it and get back into Bitcoin. Okay. Now let's get back to Vinny's article, and here's the problem. Okay, well, there's two problems, right? Sorry, there's several problems, right? So Vinny trusts this number by Chris Bernski that the price can go down to 337 and miners will still be profitable. I haven't seen the research on this, but I am very skeptical of this number. Very, very skeptical of this number. I think that Bitcoin will have enormous problems if it falls to $500 at this point, and doesn't. I should have pulled this chart up earlier. If Bitcoin falls to $100 at this point and doesn't immediately recover, what if I do? The chart I'm looking for is hash rate versus price. And if I go to pictures, I'm not going to get the latest one. No, it's Bitcoin Talk, Cointelegraph. All right, I'll just go to images. It's fine. It doesn't have to be the latest chart. This is what you're kind of looking for, right? Which is the price of Bitcoin in relation to its difficulty. And oh, that's mining reward per day versus difficulty. But this is what you want to keep an eye on, right? And when was this? This was 2011. This would have been 2013. Yeah. So these are the kinds of charts you're looking at. And look what's going on here. I don't know what the date on this chart is, unfortunately. Yeah, I really do need a later chart than this. I wasn't ready with this. I wasn't really going to talk about it. I mean, if you really want a metric, see, this is an older chart. The price has rebounded since these 2014 days. This is one of the charts you want to be using to truly understand the profitability of mining, right? Because here's the problem. I understand that Bitfury and Bitmain can remain profitable at very, very low prices of Bitcoin because they manufacture the chips. The problem that they're going to run into is if they can't sell their chips. I'm not saying they're sell. I don't think they sell their chips for, like, if you are buying their chips, you will probably lose money. Like if you're part of BitClub or you're buying the latest chips from Bitmain, it's stupid. You'll be lucky to recoup your investment. That's because if it costs them $500 to make a miner, they're going to sell it to you for about $1,000. This is the way businesses operate. So the moment you buy it, you are behind the ball by 50%. And then every second that it takes for you to put that miner online, since the moment that miner left production, the warehouse where it was produced, every second that ticks costs you a lot of money. Bitmain can take that miner off the production line and instantly put it to work. In order for you to put it to work, or God forbid, pay a middleman to put it to work for you, that time is money. And that, no matter how little that time is, it's a lot of money. So what you have to realize is the illusion that buying these miners from these manufacturers needs to be hold, because if people don't, like right now, people still believe that they can profitably mine. I think they're dumb, but they don't. But if the price of Bitcoin drops another few $100s, those people will no longer be buying any of that mining gear from those companies. And confidence in Bitcoin is going to get seriously shaken because now we're down to two miners, right? Bitmain and Bitfury. And that's not to their advantage, okay? So they need to be very, very careful here. And they're not going to be in the business of crashing the price. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. So, okay, let's get back to Vinny's article here. here's the kicker. Somewhere towards the bottom, at the very bottom, disclaimer, Vinny's disclaimer. Vinny Lingham has sold 90% of his Bitcoins. Vinny is a big player. I'm sure he had a lot of money. He had a company in Bitcoin, Gift, did great job. If Vinny just sold 90% of his Bitcoins, then his Bitcoin position was 90% too big. Okay? Because here's the deal. And I got into an argument because of this article with a man named Money Triggs, who likes to troll me every now and then, and that's okay. I don't mind. And the argument ended with the following, where he described me perfectly. He is in it for the tech equals that I don't program, I don't use Bitcoin, and I want to get rich if it is successful. And that's funny to some people, but here's the deal. You are either a trader of Bitcoin or you believe in Bitcoin. I'm starting to get frustrated with people that say they believe in Bitcoin, but trade Bitcoin left and right or altcoins. If you believe in Bitcoin, you want stability for Bitcoin. So the best thing you can do for Bitcoin is to buy all the Bitcoin you can afford to lose. And either you sell all of it because you lost faith in Bitcoin, or you hold on to that Bitcoin until you actually need to use it. And I mean need to use it, right? Your Bitcoin retired and you're selling that Bitcoin to sustain your life, or you're using it for censorship-resistant transactions, things like that, right? Or you're a Bitcoin trader. And I will respect you. Just tell me you don't give a shit about the future of Bitcoin. You just want to make more US dollars. And that's why you trade Bitcoin. And I don't want to be mean to Vinny Lingham. I like Vinny. I've recently started interacting with him. But if Vinny is going to get scared and sell 90% of his Bitcoins, only to get in later at a lower price or a higher price, because Vinny doesn't know what the price is going to be tomorrow. His best guess is as good as my best guess. And I think I have more experience as a trader, so my best guess should be better, but it doesn't have to be better. He has more insider information than I do, so his guess on the price of Bitcoin may be much better than mine because of the insider information he has. But if he's gonna take on large positions in Bitcoin based on news and reactions, then the more important thing to Vinny and other people is making more money. And I am okay with that. There is nothing wrong with that. I don't hate altcoin traders. I just want them to admit that they're in it to make more money. They're not, just admit that you trade Dash because you want more Bitcoin or probably more dollars. Don't tell me that you believe in Dash and that's why you're trading Dash. Because if you believed in Dash, you would only buy Dash, hold it, and never sell it. You would only sell it once because you stopped believing in Dash, or you Dash retired and you're just using it to live on. So that's kind of my view on things. You either believe in the tech or you're a trader. I'm a trader, but not in Bitcoin. I trade options on tech stocks. I trade options on Apple. I trade options on other big names like Amazon, and name a big company, I trade its options. And I believe in Amazon. I use Amazon all the time, but I'm not going to hold a position in Amazon. I'm going to trade Amazon to make more US dollars. And if I make enough US dollars, I'm going to use those US dollars to buy more Bitcoin, as long as I believe in the Bitcoin tech. I have zero desire to trade Bitcoin because everyone that's a Bitcoin trader adds to Bitcoin's volatility causing more instability in Bitcoin. And I do believe that strong hands matter. And this kind of brings us to Bitcoin Days Destroyed, which is a chart I really should pay more attention to. And Bitcoin Days Destroyed refers to basically Bitcoin that is moving that hasn't moved in a long time. Now, this could also mean, this doesn't mean that old timers are selling Bitcoin. It could also mean that old timers are protecting their Bitcoin. They want to make sure it's in the right place in case there's two Bitcoins. All right, what else can I kind of complain about? Do I want to get into CoinDesk? Maybe I should. When did I tweet this out? This is my Twitter, by the way. Okay, so CoinDesk. So Ryan Selkis, 2-bit idiot, is true to his name and tweeted out one of the most idiotic things I've read the entire week. And I basically replied with, sounds like CoinDesk wants 2 Bitcoins so they can double their articles of useless press releases and progress on shitcoins that Digital Currency Group has invested in. Things like Zcash, okay? So CoinDesk is not a leader in any way, shape, or form. And people will, probably call me out because I did get rejected from speaking at their conference. And I basically, in my submission to speak at the CoinDesk conference, I just informed them that 80% of your speakers are either totally incompetent or straight up scammers, and you should consider me as a speaker to add some credibility to your event. And they have absolutely no interest in having me as a speaker at their event, and that's fine. It's their event. They can pick and choose their speakers. But I used to really like CoinDesk. Even back when I was writing for Cointelegraph, I respected the articles that were coming out of CoinDesk. But over the last 6 months to a year, it's just one article is worse than the next. I think they're doing a terrible job, and all they're doing is press releases. Okay, so next, okay, what was my other issue? Shoot, I want to talk about something else. Before I get to your questions. Oh man, I shouldn't have talked about CoinDesk. I already lost. I wanted to talk about. I talked about strong hands in Bitcoin and not panicking and not selling. Okay, so here's my problem. Here's the little rant coming in. Here's my problem. So when Bitcoin price was low, and Roger Ver started his campaign that Core doesn't know what they're doing. We need Bitcoin Unlimited because that's going to bring the Bitcoin price up and it's going to solve the scaling problem. This is why no one is coming to Bitcoin. And the price started to go up, basically kind of looked at it and said, well, Core is doing a great job because the price is going up. And somehow in the last 48 hours, I'm not sure if this was I'm going to hold Vinny Linkham somewhat responsible for this, but I'm pretty sure he didn't start it, and he's not the big driver of it. I don't understand how in the last 48 hours the mentality of people has changed that we as SegWit supporters need to crash the price of Bitcoin to $300 a coin to teach the Chinese miners a lesson. I think this is a terrible, terrible way to think about things. And you have to realize the motivation of people. And again, I'm not picking on Vinny. Vinny, don't hate me. But when you sell 90% of your Bitcoin, you are now motivated to be right about the crash in the Bitcoin price. And you want the Bitcoin price to crash so you can buy Bitcoin at a lower price and make more money. People are listening to your advice, now want the exact same thing. All these people, and this is why in my tweet, I say weak hands already out, and I am not picking on Vinny. This is in general. I'm not sure why my thing automatically goes. Anyway, I'm not picking on Vinny when I say weak hands. I don't consider Vinny a weak hand. Vinny is legitimately nervous about the future of Bitcoin, and he sold 90% of his Bitcoin. And like I said earlier, that means Vinny's position and Vinny's belief in Bitcoin was 90% too high. But if he still has that money sitting there waiting to get back into Bitcoin, he is motivated to be right on the crash of Bitcoin. Back when I was predicting lower and lower prices for Bitcoin all throughout 2015, I never sold my Bitcoin. I never traded my Bitcoin. I was calling for Bitcoin to fall in price from $500 or $600 all the way to $100. I was calling for that. I was off. It only fell to 150. You can see it in my chart. You can see it in my chart right here, where I was wrong on the fall of Bitcoin. But if you go back to my Cointelegraph articles back then, like if you look at this red triangle right here on the left, I called this triangle perfectly to a drop. This was at a price of over $500. I've been calling this downtrend channel all throughout 2014 and 15, looking for a low in the 100s. Never had I sold my Bitcoin throughout this time. I lost my Bitcoin in stupid investments by pretending I knew how to play a VC, but I never traded or sold my Bitcoin, okay? So when you exit and other people followed Vinny, and you can look at my back and forth with Money Triggs, who also apparently sold like Bitcoins. They're motivated to be right and to buy these Bitcoins cheaper, okay? That's not what I do. That's not my motivation. So this is what I want to try to explain to people, that when you're looking at all of this nonsense right now, that we need to crash the Bitcoin price to teach Chinese miners a lesson, you got to take that comment with a grain of salt, because it's coming from a person that has sold his Bitcoin and wants to buy it on the cheap. And the universe it will not work for you like that. You can only manipulate the market like that if you're a big player and you actually know what you're doing. So I think so many people sold on this, expecting the price to crash to the 700s, whatever. And yes, it's possible it's going to crash there, but guess what? What happens if it doesn't? And nobody wants to acknowledge that. In my discussion with Money Triggs, who sold a huge chunk of his Bitcoin, I told him, so what's your plan if Bitcoin never goes below $1,000 again, ever? And I tweeted this at him earlier today. What happens to your position if Bitcoin never goes below 1,000? And he replied, I plan to buy my Bitcoin at 800, at 600, and at 500 or whatever. I mean, the tweet storm kind of got blocked a little bit, but they're there. The tweets are there. And I replied to him again, you didn't answer my question. What is your plan if Bitcoin never goes below 1,000? And clearly his plan is to buy Bitcoin at 800 and lower. These people don't have a plan for what happens if they're wrong at all, right? Now, Vinny says he will get back into Bitcoin when SegWit is, when the drama between SegWit and Bitcoin Unlimited resolves itself. But the price is going to skyrocket to the top before it resolves itself, because everyone is waiting for it to resolve itself, right? It's like everyone was waiting to buy the ETF. Everyone was waiting to buy the ETF, and the price drops. Let me go back to the daily, right? Everyone is waiting, to get the top of the ETF, but guess what? The price went up way before the ETF. Everyone, was waiting for the halving, but guess what? The price went up before the halving, right? So at which point do all these people that just sold and dropped the Bitcoin price by 30%, Guys, Bitcoin has just fallen 30%. That's not trivial. That's significant, right? If Bitcoin now goes up back to 1100, back to 1200, when do these guys get back in? They have absolutely no plan for what happens if they are wrong. None. And this is why trading should be left to the professionals. You can be lucky every now and then, but guess what? It may bite you, and it's going to bite you at the worst possible time. So I still think 915 will hold, only because too many people now expect it not to hold, and everyone wants to buy it on the cheap. And guess what? If Bitcoin goes back to the 300s, we might go back to one CPU, one vote, because I don't think the proof of work algorithm is going to change. But if those big mining operations are no longer profitable, I'll gladly mine Bitcoin again. I'll go buy another $2,000 computer, slap a miner on my CPU, and let it go. If no one else wants to mine, I'll do it. So I really don't mind if Bitcoin does go down back to double digits because of this controversy. And I will only sell if the Bitcoin core developers call it quits. And I haven't seen that yet. There's one other thing that bothers me, and I might or could potentially bother me, and I'll wait till there's more information on it. I believe that other miners are now other big miners are trying to speak to Jihan and the Chinese miners and potentially the Chinese regulators, and they are trying to, and this is the word I want to use very carefully, if they are trying to compromise, that's a problem. If they are doing their best to convince the Chinese why they need to get on board with SegWit and forget Roger, that I'm on board with. So please keep an eye out on what the other major miners outside of China are doing and speaking to, and their reactions in dealing with those Chinese miners. As for the exchanges, and we talked about this on recent podcasts, as for the exchanges announcing that Bitcoin Unlimited would be an altcoin, that's great. It's great that the Bitcoin exchanges were able to get together and explain to people what they plan to do. They are responsible companies, or trying to be responsible companies, so they need to plan for all occasions. And we haven't heard this from wallets. It would be nice for wallets to also get together and put out their roadmap of how they plan to handle it. But I'm really worried about these small wallets like Bread Wallet and Airbit, wallets that don't have lots and lots of developers and lots of money backing them, because wallets aren't exactly profitable. So I don't know how that's going to play out. Okay, guys. All right. I think I've talked about this enough. I don't know what else I can say. I'll gladly take your questions. I know people started asking questions. I'm scrolling this chat all the way to the top. I do not have the reading speed or the ability. Oh wow, I can't even scroll it all the way to the top. Because there is a lot of chatter here. I'll try and look at the questions with a capital Q, capital word question. I'll try and get to those right now. I don't want to take too much time. I know I've already spoken long enough, but let's go for it. How significant is Bitcoin dominance dropping to all-time lows, almost below 70%? I personally don't think it's all that significant. I don't care. I think I've talked about altcoins enough. These altcoins have no future. Like I said earlier, if you were, hopefully you were watching, one of two things is going to happen. Either these altcoins going to reach a price limit where a better programmer is going to annihilate your technology, like in the case of the DAO, or money will rush from all these altcoins back into Bitcoin as quickly as it went into them. So I don't find that. I mean, I like seeing this metric in the 90% range. But you know what? It's irrelevant because I know how these altcoins are going to end. And if I'm wrong, then I'll admit it. Then I'm wrong, right? But we need way more time to declare whether I was right or wrong. Okay, if there is going to be a hard fork, will there be much warning, or will it just happen with no warning? So it will happen at the worst possible time for you personally, right? So for everyone on the planet, right? If there is a hard fork, it will happen without warning, and it will happen at the most inconvenient time. So it'll be like, I don't know, you happen to get stuck in a basement with no electricity and for 3 hours, and that's exactly when it happened, and you had no idea what was going on. Like these things always happen at the most inconvenient possible time. That is just the way markets work. Right. So here's the question. Why is Vinny Lingham saying on Twitter that holding Bitcoin is a vote for Bitcoin Unlimited? I don't know why. This is what I'm saying. I do not agree with with this trend that started just in the last 48 hours, guys, of we need to crash the price of Bitcoin for the sake of SegWit. I think that is very irresponsible. I think having that viewpoint is as irresponsible as supporting Bitcoin Unlimited and pushing for a hard fork. I completely disagree with that. And also, guys, here's another thing you have to realize. Why do you want to sell your Bitcoin and go to cash? If Bitcoin Unlimited hard forks, your Bitcoin will split into two, and you will have two sets of coins. If you sell your Bitcoin and you go to Ethereum, if you sell your Bitcoin and you go to Dash, if you sell your Bitcoin and you go to dollars, you will not have both sides of the chain if the chain hard forks. Why do you want to do that to yourself? I don't want it to hard fork either, but I would be crazy to sell my Bitcoin the day before the hard fork because I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe both chains will be valuable. I don't think they will, but I have no idea. Nobody has any idea. What I think is going to happen is the opposite. Everyone thinks that they're going to be the smart one and sell their Bitcoin just before the halving, like before the hard fork. And then after the hard fork, they will buy the correct one on the cheap. First of all, you're not going to know which one the correct one is. Second of all, how do you know you're going to buy it on the cheap, right? I bet you there is a lot of people sitting there and tricking you by saying, hey, sell me your Bitcoin. I'm going to buy up the Bitcoin price going into the hard fork so that when it hard forks, I have the maximum amount of Bitcoin so that I have both coins. I'm not going to do what Ethereum did and sell one of the chains. I'm going to hold on to both of them because if one of them succeeds way better than the other, but the other one still succeeds in some way, shape, or form, I become richer. This is the two Ethereums today is stronger than one Ethereum was a year ago, right? The mentality is going to be the same. Don't buy into these people. Just because other people sold all of their Bitcoins and are now trying to convince you to sell your Bitcoins so they can buy them back cheaper. Don't buy into this nonsense. This is why you will sell at the worst possible time and buy it back at the worst possible time again. So there. That's the answer to your question. And I don't want to accuse Vinny, but I've been critical of what's his name? Barry Silbert as well. When Barry Silbert buys up a bunch of Ethereum Classic and then, tells everyone that Ethereum Classic is great and that he owns Ethereum Classic. You have to be real careful. When people are following when people are following your trading advice and you're actually trading ahead of your own advice, you are in best position to profit from that advice. And you are now not only motivated of having an oracle status, of being right so more people trust you. You are in a position to make more money because people trust you. This is another reason why I try not to trade anything I talk about. I talk about how I see the markets. I don't trade these markets. I don't profit. Well, I kind of profit if Bitcoin goes up because I'm holding Bitcoin, but I'm not here to have people follow me and for me to make more money because people are following me. And I'm not saying Vinny is doing that, but that's the end result. It's just life. So you have to be real careful. I mean, he could be right. I mean, in a month, in 2 months, I will be the idiot that called it wrong, and Vinny will be the genius that called it right, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. But you have to realize that by him selling 90% of his coins, his intention is to get back in cheaper. I'm sure he'll be okay financially if he buys back at a higher price and loses money on this transaction. He will be very happy that he's buying back because SegWit has succeeded, and I will be happy for Vinny. I'm not picking on Vinny. I'm not being critical of Vinny, but this is one of the reasons why we differ. And you have to realize, Vinny trades Bitcoin and I don't. There's a huge difference there in our views on the future of Bitcoin because I'm not a Bitcoin trader. I just talk about it. Okay, so let me see if there's any other questions. Another question. You mentioned at one point that Core might force SegWit at some point. How possible is it for Core to do that, and what would be the political fallout of such a move? Right, that is a complicated question. Nobody knows. I can't answer that. I can't answer that. And obviously, they're not going to do it now because it would be a complete disaster. They would do it when they know it's going to be the dominant chain. This is no different. This is no different than Bitcoin Unlimited forcing a hard fork when they know it's going to be the dominant chain. We are dealing with game theory, and we are dealing with a bit of a prisoner's dilemma. How do you achieve what you want without the other guy taking advantage of the situation, right? So Bitcoin Unlimited, I mean, and the reason Core would do this is to counter Bitcoin Unlimited, okay? Just like Bitcoin Unlimited would do it. Like if Bitcoin Unlimited hard forked tomorrow, it would be very, very dangerous for everyone involved. So they're not going to do it. Bitcoin Unlimited will hard fork when they have reason to believe that there will not be a second viable chain with potential to overtake their initiative. Core is thinking the same thing. Core's initial thoughts were, it's safe enough to do it at 95% miner support. Clearly, that's never going to happen. If that's never going to happen and we still need SegWit, we need another activation mechanism. Will that activation mechanism be a user-activated soft fork, which is when we have enough nodes? Maybe. Maybe it'll be a combination of the two. Or maybe if they get enough miners on board, like strong miners, like Bitfury says, we have 20 or 25% of the network, and we're not going anywhere. We will commit, and you can't trust anybody in this space, right? But we will commit, or our company will also die along with the Bitcoin Core code, but we will try even as a minority, but no one is going to do it as a minority. But honestly, nobody knows. Nobody knows. But all I meant by that is I expect segregated witness to be pushed out with less than 95% miner support. But it's up to the team of the 100+ people, all of whom I believe are smarter than me. It's up to them to decide when the best time might be. And if Blockstream or Blockstream or any of the other core contributors, if they care to reach out to me and ask for my advice on this economics and the economic nature, the speculation nature, the confidence nature, I'll happily advise them for free. So they always have an invitation. Bitfury can reach out to me at any time, because I would love to talk to Bitfury about they need to be very careful about the statements they put out in how they're dealing with the Chinese miners and how they're talking to them, if they are talking to them. And they should be talking to them in one way, shape, or form, whether it's public or private. I have no idea, but they should be talking to them, but they have to be very careful in how they present their conversation with the Chinese miners, regulators, exchanges, doesn't matter. Roger Ver even, right? If Bitfury is speaking to Roger Ver, they need to be very, very careful in how they tell the general public of those conversations and how they phrase it, because if it's not phrased correctly, it could cause some bit of loss of confidence in the system, or the other way around. It could add confidence to the system that maybe Bitfury and their research arm, and them being a very respected miner, I respect them a lot, maybe they can break through to them, which I doubt, but they can try. So it really matters how it gets done. And again, I'm holding on to my Bitcoin. I'm not nowhere near scared yet. We're not even in a bear market, for God's sakes, guys. It's the world isn't crashing yet. Bitcoin is still above 1,000. It's 3 times higher than it was at this time a year ago. We're just under all-time highs. I think Bitcoin will get through this. Would I short Dash? No, I wouldn't short Dash, because Dash can have a pump to $300. And why do I want to lose money on something I don't know, on something I have no control of? I'm going to stick to my option trading, where I minimize my risk while maximize my gain. Well, if there is a hard fork, then SegWit would instantly be implemented on one of the chains, right? Do I think Bitcoin Unlimited chain will ever activate SegWit? No, absolutely not. I don't care what's going on with Ether. Someone asked a question about Ether. All right, let's see what else we got here on questions. All right, so you might have to rephrase your question, because I'm not following here. It says, why can't it be both? But I'm not sure what it is. As a professional poker player, I have to use Bitcoin to move money. Great, that's a Bitcoin use case. But I also love the crypto space and trading as well. Well, I love trading also. And I also love the crypto space. But by trading Bitcoin, I am hurting the crypto space, because I panic and I drive the price lower. I hit euphoria and I drive the price higher. And when price goes too high, bad things also tend to happen. So I love the crypto space too, but I respect Bitcoin too much to try and trade it. From again, one reason I don't think I would make money trading Bitcoin. I think one of the reasons why I've been so good at predicting the price of Bitcoin lately is because I don't trade Bitcoin. It's because I'm not emotional. It's because I'm not on the wrong side of the trade, now trying to influence people to prove that I'm going to be right. I have if you go back to the last 6 months of everything I've ever said about Bitcoin, and probably even further, one of the reasons why I've been consistently right on Bitcoin is because I made no money from those trades. I have no fear right now to tell you that I think Bitcoin is going to bounce off of this number, but I'm not buying it right here. I'm just going to hold through it. But if someone wants to sell me some Bitcoin for cash, I mean, we can meet at a coffee shop in Brooklyn somewhere. I'll gladly buy some from you for cash. It won't be a big purchase. I don't have that much cash anymore. But this is one of the reasons. So yes, you love the Bitcoin space, and you obviously love to trade, and you're doing both. But by adding volatility, you are potentially hurting the Bitcoin space. So you got to choose what's more important: the stability of Bitcoin and your strong hand in Bitcoin, or your desire for more money and more Bitcoin. Because one does happen at the expense of the other. Just like me spending all of my time on Bitcoin and creating content comes at the expense of me trading traditional markets. I can't fork like Bitcoin Unlimited is trying to do to Bitcoin. Right. Someone says, I trade Bitcoin to make more Bitcoin. That's fine. But you have to realize that if everyone does that, then no one cares about the fundamentals of Bitcoin. And then what are we doing here? Right? Then you're trading Bitcoin not to get more Bitcoin. You're trading Bitcoin to get more US dollars, because that's the most stable currency, or gold or silver or something other than Bitcoin, right? Because if the only reason why if the only reason why the currency exists is for speculation and trading, then there's no fundamental value in it. And at the end, and this is why it will be annihilated technologically, because no one cares about its fundamental values. And its fundamental value is censorship-resistant value transfer. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter how much it costs. These are the things that are bothering Roger Ver, but they don't bother me. Because what's important to me is that Bitcoin remains censorship-resistant value transfer. Even if it costs $100 to send a transaction and it takes a week to confirm it. That's not important. What's important is that it remains decentralized and it remains censorship resistant. And if we lose those properties, Bitcoin is PayPal. Bitcoin is whatever, Steemit, whatever you want to call it, right? It's clams, it's Paycoin. It doesn't matter at that point. It's useless. It's a centralized e-gold, or even probably worse than that. All they had to do was not tell anyone where the gold was in e-gold, and it might still be in operation. So anyway, so yeah, I mean, if you're gonna admit to me that you're only trading Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin, that's fine, and I respect that. But I will tell you that you are hurting the Bitcoin economy by doing it. And if you say that's okay, I just want more money, I will say great. Thank you for being honest. I mean, well, there's nothing else I can say. I don't have a problem with it. There will always be people like that. Some of those people are needed, but when too many of the when that's the only reason why Bitcoin exists, I have no reason to be here. I will make more money focusing on traditional trading and making more dollars. I'm perfectly happy with US dollars. Maybe I'll start buying, silver and gold coins again. after it bottoms out at 700 or something. All right, let's see what else we got with questions. Oh man, this is, I've only been going for an hour, I believe. So this video might be shorter than usual. I'm gonna try and cut this within the next 25 minutes or less. All right, Adam Meister's show is at 8:18 Eastern time. I'm assuming I will definitely be done before that. So this way I'm not interfering with his show. All right, let's see what other questions I got. If I haven't gotten to your question yet and I already skipped it, that means it was way too far at the top and I did not have the ability to scroll up high enough. Well, no, I agree with that. Someone is correcting me. Someone says, Vinny would much rather have SegWit activated and BU gone versus a low $300 price of Bitcoin. Correct. Absolutely correct. Vinny would gladly lose money on this trade if Bitcoin Unlimited disappeared tomorrow and the price was up to $2,000 tomorrow. Vinny would get right back in and he will be happy. He will have a lot less Bitcoin. He would have 2 times less the Bitcoin if he sold at 1,000 and bought back at 2,000, right? But he would be happy and he would sleep better at night. He wouldn't even be upset that he lost half of his Bitcoin by doing this trade. He would be happy and proud that SegWit succeeded and Bitcoin Unlimited failed. I have no doubt in my mind that that is the truth. However, he still thinks that the price is going to go down. And he's helping the price go down by selling such a large stake of the Bitcoin. And he does plan to buy it back at a lower price. And remember, everyone can't be profitable in trading, right? Some people win and some people lose. But if Vinny has to buy it back at 2,000 and not 400, Vinny now has half the Bitcoin. And guess what? Bitcoin just got more decentralized. And that's good. We want these old timers to leave. We want Bitcoin to be more decentralized. We want more people. Now, there is a downside to this, right? The downside is that the weak hands leave and the rich get richer, right? Like the Roger Ver ends up with 600,000 Bitcoin. Honestly, I don't even think Roger has 300,000 Bitcoins. If I had, and I know nothing, right? I'm guessing. If I had to guess, I would put Roger's stake at about 125,000 Bitcoin. I have no idea. I'm just guessing. I just think Roger having 300,000 Bitcoin is a little too much. I don't think he has that much. But that's a complete opinion. I have no evidence to the contrary. So we want these guys to distribute their coins throughout the ecosystem. We want Satoshi to put his million Bitcoin into circulation and distribute it as much as possible. The one advantage that Bitcoin has on all these other altcoins is that it had so much time to spread around the world when it was useless and free and cheap. And some people bought up a lot, and they're the big holders. And if we can diversify these big holders, that's a big positive for the ecosystem. So if Vinny is forced to buy back at a higher price and have less Bitcoin, that strengthens the decentralization of Bitcoin being spread around the world. But if everyone else panic sells and Vinny Linkham is able to buy back at a price of 300 to 400, and now Vinny has, he was a big holder before, and now you make him a bigger holder of Bitcoin, you are not helping the Bitcoin economy by decentralizing and distributing Bitcoin around the world. Now, of course, I would rather have Vinny be the big Bitcoin holder than some of these other people, because Vinny has a pretty good track record in, funding companies that are very, very useful. Not that Roger hasn't. Roger has also funded companies that are very, very useful. But Roger's recent distribution of his Bitcoin into altcoins makes me incredibly happy. I wish Roger would move all of his Bitcoin across any altcoins he likes, because I know the kind of incompetence that's running those altcoins. And he will lose all that money in the altcoins unless he's able to properly get back into Bitcoin and get more Bitcoin out of it. So this is where new people, if you got into Bitcoin because you believed in the Bitcoin technology and you believed in the core devs and you believe in the code, you don't sell your Bitcoin. You buy the dip. Buy every dip. Either you believe in Bitcoin or you don't. If you have the capital and you believe, if you believe in Bitcoin to the point that you have all the Bitcoin you want to believe in, that's fine. Again, if I go back to my fourth, where I'm being made fun of, let me see here. Right. So here's a tweet right at me. Try feeling the pain of losing $20,000 worth $20,000 worth in one day because you didn't sell, the Bitcoin. And I asked them, I'm like, do you believe in Bitcoin as a technology, or do you only care about making more dollars? Because I'm being made fun of for not having a big enough Bitcoin position to care, which may or may not be true. But here's my answer. I invested in Bitcoin the perfect amount of money to not get scared and sell as long as I believe in the tech of Bitcoin. And that's going to be my answer, right? If clearly Vinny invested 90% too much and he sold 90% of it. There's nothing, again, that's what Vinny did. And he made this public, and whether it helped drive the price down or not, nobody knows. But I invested my money in Bitcoin, and I will be going down with the ship, because the amount of money I invested is the amount of money I am willing to lose. And that is why I'm a holder of Bitcoin and not a trader of Bitcoin. And this is why my analysis is going to be very, very different from anybody else's technical analysis, because my analysis is only influenced by my long-term holdings and not by short-term trading. I still like Vinny, by the way. I think Vinny's great. I hope Vinny doesn't get mad at me too much over this episode. I don't want to make an enemy out of Vinny. We are on the same side. I'm just pointing out, if he's going to write articles like that, I don't want to do a disservice to my followers. If I have something to be critical of Vinny about, I'll be critical of Vinny about, because you benefit. I'm here for my 250 live viewers that I have right now. That is honestly incredible. And I've been ranting for an hour and 15 minutes. Thank you, guys. And I definitely appreciate your donations. Definitely had a few donations come in recently. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. I always forget to say that, but much, much appreciated. Question: does the fact that Bitcoin hasn't significantly fallen yet not suggest that the market isn't really all that spooked by Bitcoin Unlimited? Perhaps. Or perhaps people have already sold out. Or perhaps people are buying Bitcoin wanting the split so they can have two Bitcoins. You don't know. There's also an underlying economy. Crypto Locker ain't going nowhere. Gambling with Bitcoin ain't going nowhere. Backpage ain't going nowhere. The drug markets aren't going nowhere. right? Like if Trump legalizes drugs and legalizes gambling and legalizes prostitution in America, I will be the first to sell my Bitcoin. That's gonna create a weak hand out of me. Man, I can't wait till Trump cuts off remittance to Mexico. Bitcoin might double right then and there. Mexicans are already starting to discover Bitcoin. Wait till Trump cuts off the dollar faucet from US to Mexico. Bitcoin will go up so quick, you'll have no idea what happened. And I'm still sticking to my $2,000 price in Bitcoin by mid-August. I have not walked away from that. I'm sticking with that prediction. Bitcoin $2,000 by mid-August. All right, let's see what other questions we got here. Oh, I'm not sure if I scrolled too much or not scrolled. Oh, wow, this chat is active. Guy, 250 people, guys. Tone, what will make you quit Bitcoin? I've talked about many times. If the Bitcoin core compromises in a way I don't like, if all-star core developers quit, if Bitcoin becomes useless because governments have achieved what I wanted them to achieve before I discovered Bitcoin, which is remove all laws on voluntary transactions. I mean, these are the kind of things that will make me quit Bitcoin. What will make me, and I promised Roger Ver that what will make me stop talking about Bitcoin is if Bitcoin Unlimited becomes the dominant chain. If Bitcoin Unlimited becomes the dominant chain, I may or may not sell my Bitcoin, but I will certainly not talk about it anymore because I won't care as much. I won't have any passion to talk about it. It won't matter to me as much. So, here's a good question. So other commodities can withstand trading, but Bitcoin can't. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, because trading of oil doesn't change the amount of oil in the ground, right? Because oil isn't controlled by a decentralized group of people who need to come to consensus to create oil. Gold isn't created by a decentralized group of smart people who come together to create gold. So if you break apart, yeah, so that's exactly right. And another interesting thought question. So if I want segregated witness and a better Bitcoin, I actually want the hard fork. No, you still don't want the hard fork, because if it's a hard fork and there's confusion, we lose the users of Bitcoin. We use those gambling operations. We lose the drug markets. Like we lose the actual people that need to use Bitcoin to pay their bills. Like use Bitcoin, not sell Bitcoin because they're Bitcoin rich. Use Bitcoin to pay their bills. They couldn't care less about the price of Bitcoin. They need to buy Bitcoin and use it as fast as possible. They don't care about the Bitcoin price. You don't want to lose those people to a hard fork and confusion. And by the way, guys, if Bitcoin fails, all these alts will fail because it'll be proven that you can't have a decentralized currency. So what's going to happen is e-gold is going to come back, only probably without the gold. What will happen is you will have some trusted, centralized third party with the ability to do anonymous, censorship-resistant transactions as an anonymous, trusted third party. That would be the future if Bitcoin fails. And this is why I do not believe that Bitcoin will fail. How can I support SegWit by running a full node? Yes, you want to run a full node. You want to download the core client 0.14. You want to Google how to properly install this client. It shouldn't be complicated. I do know that you need to keep your port 8333 open. I am in the process of buying an old laptop, so I can also do the same, so that I can. But yes, please just Google how to run a segregated witness full node. There should be plenty of videos and stuff like that. All right, let's see what other question you got. Do I think it will close the year at 3,000? I don't think it will close the year at 3,000, but it's possible. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. Nobody does. Why did I skip your question? Because because my chat kind of scrolled over to the bottom and I didn't know how far I was. So if I skipped your question, add it at the end. I'm about to go to the end. It wasn't on purpose, unless your question was inappropriate. Or not, I don't really care if your question is inappropriate, but if your question is unrelated to economics, then I probably was not going to answer it, because I just don't have the time to answer those questions at the moment. Do you think it's wise or stupid to diversify into ETH and Dash? I think it's stupid to diversify into them. But that doesn't mean that you can't make money from doing so. Can I do an episode interviewing Jacob Yoakum Piat? I have no clue who that is, and I have no idea what Decred is. So I highly doubt I will be interviewing that person. Why is nobody talking about transaction malleability, which is what SegWit was designed to fix? A bonus that it also allows for more transactions. I'm talking about it. Well, because the propaganda machine that SegWit was created by evil people, funded by evil bankers, is more important than the technology of segregated witness. All right, I don't know if I skipped any other questions. Do I think Monero has a future? Not really, a very minimal future. I need to cover Monero, my episode of Crypto Scam. I'm not going to get into it here. I'm like scrolling back. I'm answering questions like backwards only because I lost track of where I was. Do you think Vinny is shorting Bitcoin? I have no idea. I'm going to lean towards no, but if Vinny is shorting Bitcoin, he becomes even more invested in the falling price of Bitcoin, and I am not invested in the falling price of Bitcoin. Even if I can buy my Bitcoin cheaper, I don't want that. I don't want to buy more Bitcoin cheaper. I want my current amount of Bitcoin to go up in value. That's why I got into Bitcoin. No, I've looked at some of Bitfury George's tweets. Honestly, I know nothing about proof of work changes. I have no idea. I have not had time to look into it. I'm not going to speculate. I don't expect there to be any proof of work changes. I don't think that's possible. I think that's another hard fork. I don't see it, guys. Can the U.S. government arrest Bitcoin Core devs for what they're doing? Absolutely, they can. And I'm actually worried about that. The U.S. government can do anything they want. If you haven't learned that yet, you really should change the way you think. I don't know how this is going to play out. I can speculate on 5 different ways that it can play out, and it's probably not going to play out that way. It will probably be a 6th way I haven't considered. Nobody knows how this is going to play out. So nobody knows. No one. Is Bitcoin forking in the next 60 days? No one knows. I have no idea. What is the sign of victory for either Core or Bitcoin Unlimited? I honestly don't know, guys. I haven't thought about this question enough. It's a great question. I don't know what victory is at this point in this debate. That is an amazing question. I wish I had time to think about it. I don't have the brain power right now to answer it. I will think about it. Maybe I'll answer it in the near future. Please ask again in a few weeks, and I might give you the same answer. I can't answer it, or I might give you my best thinking. All right, so let me see. Now I'm scrolling in the right direction. Let me see what other questions I got. What good is censorship resistance when it's only pseudo-anonymous and the anonymity can be unmasked by government? That is a great question. It's insanely important because just because the government knows I did something, them not having the ability to stop it is 80% of the challenge. Look, the government realized what Edward Snowden did. The government knows what Julian Assange is a better example. The government knows what Julian Assange and WikiLeaks do. They know. They know where Julian Assange is living. They know WikiLeaks is going to publish X, Y, and Z. And there is nothing they can do about it. The government knowing you sent that transaction is only 20% of the problem, maybe even 5% of the problem. But 80 to 95% of the solution is your ability to send that money and them not having the ability to stop you. They can find you, arrest you, you can hide out at an embassy for the rest of your life. You can be like Snowden, living in, Siberia of Russia or wherever he's hiding out. But them not having the ability to stop you is what's really important, not them knowing what you did. What them knowing what you did is such a distant second. If we don't have Bitcoin, we will not have the ability to send that payment. And then it's all lost. The ability to send it, no matter how long it takes to get there, no matter how much it costs to do it, somebody will pay the cost when it's time to do something important. The most important part is the fact that they can't stop you from doing it. And they can only go after you after the fact, not prevent you from doing it. Okay? This is why Snowden didn't go to the New York Times. He didn't go to the Washington Post. He didn't go to the LA Times. He ran away to Hong Kong and he contacted the Guardian. He contacted not just the Guardian, he contacted the one writer at the Guardian who wasn't gonna rat on him. Had Snowden contacted the New York Times, they probably would have immediately called the Secret Service, the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, everybody. They would have had them all on a group chat telling them about Snowden. And then Snowden would have been arrested. And none of that information would have ever came out. Again, the important part is being able to send that message, having the ability to send that message. This is why internet needs to remain decentralized, okay? Internet itself. So we have the ability to send that message. Who cares if it's pseudo-anonymous? Who cares if it's not even anonymous? And this is what I say. This is why Monero is not interesting to me. Anonymity is not interesting to me. It's a good bonus. It's a nice thing to have, but it's so far below the importance scale. I mean, anonymity is probably a little bit more important than transaction time, and it's probably a little more important than the transaction fee. But it's still, like so much less important than censorship resistance. They don't even come close. So that is a great question. And you have to realize that censorship resistance is the most important part here. And of course, and the reason why we have it in a decentralized way is because Satoshi solved the double spend problem, which Ethereum can't, and Dash will not. And anyway, I think you guys get the point. Still have over 240 viewers, guys. Thank you for sticking around. I'm trying to get to all your questions. I don't have time to read everybody's comments. There's like hundreds of comments here. I really am just trying to get to the word question, and I will be done within the next 5 to 10 minutes so that I don't interfere with Adam Meister, and I'll probably jump on to listen to his show. Do you think people will buy up Bitcoin pending a fork, hoping to buy and double their coins fueled by greed? Absolutely, and I think I've already talked about that earlier. All right, another question. Tone, Whale Club talked about Monero is now used for malware rather than Bitcoin. Have you heard anything about this? Is this a genuine use, and is it now gone? Well, if Monero is being used for malware now, that's kind of good because it takes Bitcoin out of the limelight for being used in this very, very malicious way. But how the hell are you going to get your Monero? You're first going to go and buy Bitcoin, and then you're going to convert it to Monero. And then you're going to send Monero to these people that locked up your hard drive. What do you think these people are going to do with the Monero? They're going to convert it back to Bitcoin. So no, this does not hurt Bitcoin, and it should help Bitcoin. And it may also help Monero, and that's fine. And you know what? When Bitcoin needs full anonymity, it will get full anonymity. And remember, like Bitcoin, investing in Bitcoin is supposed to be hard. If it was easy, we would have all been millionaires like Roger Ver. If buying Bitcoin at any time was a no-brainer, we all would have done it when Trace Mayer and Brock Pierce did it at 10 cents. At any time, buying Bitcoin is supposed to be a risky adventure. I saw something about Vitalik Buterin. Sorry, guys, there's just so much in this chat. I'm having like a problem sticking an order here. All right, hold on. And I do want to finish this within the next 5 minutes on top of it. Let me see. Okay, here we go. 2 questions. What do you consider a big Bitcoin position? Also, when the price goes up, do you consider that to be a bigger position? Well, the second question is interesting. I don't know what's a big position, right? I hold an enormously big position compared to how much net worth I currently have, and for someone else, this could be like I know people like my position in Bitcoin. I know people that can blow through my entire Bitcoin position at a 3-day weekend in Vegas. Okay, so it's all relative. Your position in Bitcoin is completely dependent on your risk tolerance and your net wealth. When the price of Bitcoin goes up, do you consider that to be a bigger position? Well, of course, because if the price of Bitcoin goes up, the amount of wealth I have in Bitcoin becomes a greater percentage of my net worth. So yes, it instantly becomes a bigger position. What do I think about Vitalik Buterin? What would you say would you say he's a competent researcher? I don't know. I think Vitalik is too young to be a competent researcher. He may or may not be super smart. Jury should still be out. I think Vitalik Buterin is another 6 months away from either a mental or a physical breakdown, because I cannot keep up with the social life of Bitcoin. And I feel bad for the kid now because his life is 100 times more hectic than mine. And mine is, I never saw this coming for me, and his has to be 100 times worse. So I actually feel sorry for Vitalik now. And I think if he's not going to somewhere be between health and mental issues of trying to do too much, I feel a little worried for Vitalik. I don't want anything bad to happen to him, but I've always said I do expect Vitalik to be to be put in front of a judge at one point in the future, because I don't think that project is going to end well. And if it ends well, it could end badly because it ends well. This is where Satoshi has the greatest advantage on us all by not only being anonymous and not being involved. He left the project early enough not to be responsible for it. All right, I have time for one more question. Hopefully I'm at the bottom of this chat. Yeah, that's a good question. Why are we here? You need to ask yourself that question. Why are you here? Why are you in Bitcoin? Are you here to make more money, or are you here because you believe in the tech? One will come at the expense of the other if you're a trader. If you believe in the tech and the tech succeeds, it should make you rich, right? Because you own a piece of the tech. All right, guys, I hope I answered all of your questions. I did get this video done in under 2 hours. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much for your donations. Follow me on Twitter at ToneVase. I will try to get to another episode of Crypto Scam. There's just not enough time in the day. I will try and update my blog again. Again, not enough time in the day. I will try to organize my life a little bit better. And the next episode of Bitcoin Uncensored you will hear if you listen to that show. I was the co-host with Chris DeRose on the last episode of Bitcoin Uncensored. And of course, look out for me on the World Crypto Network. Thank you so much for tuning in live. I still have 140 viewers, and I'll try and see you all middle of next week. Oh, I'm also in Philadelphia. I am speaking at the Philadelphia meetup. I totally forgot to say that. So if you are near the Philadelphia area, please come out to the Philadelphia meetup this upcoming Thursday at 30th Street Station. I will have more details on that in my next episode. So I will be coming to the Philadelphia meetup if you are in the area. All right, bye-bye, guys.